Okay. Now I would like to call upon our guest of honor for today, Shefali Vaidya ma'am, to address the audience.
Namaskar. Today's chief guest, Vinod Bidwaik, Dr. Vinod Shastri, Dr. Surya Ramdas, Dr. Mihika, all the delegates and everyone who's gathered here. It's my rare honor to be here in the sanctified grounds to address all of you, the future leaders. And it gives me great pleasure because I'm always happy to come to Karvestri Shikshan Samstha. I was listening to the words of this prayer very carefully while these girls were singing it so beautifully. And I was thinking of what are the values they have listed out in the prayer. The one value is they are not praying to any god. They are praying to the ashram. Because the ashram has provided home, it has provided succor, and it has provided guidance for generations of women at a time when women did not have the opportunities that you and I have had. I have had less, you are having even more. Your future generations will have even more opportunities. But the values that the prayer talks about are timeless. They were relevant then, they are relevant today, and they are going to be relevant in the future also. Those values are what are the values? The prayer talked about giving Shakti in the heart of Asahaya Balikas, empowering women. I don't actually like the word women's empowerment because that gives the agency of empowerment to somebody else. It is implied that somebody else is empowering you. No, I would prefer the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's interpretation of this term, where he always talks about women-led empowerment, not women's empowerment. But the prayer also talks about that. The prayer also talks about respecting the Guru Shishya Parampara, which we know that great teachers create great leaders, which is valid then, which is valid today, which is always going to be valid tomorrow. Even in this world of today, where artificial intelligence can give you all the information you need. You don't need a teacher. You can just go on Google and search whatever information you need. So why do you need a human teacher? You need a human teacher because the teacher has that experience that no artificial intelligence can match. And that is going to be the key differentiator. Tomorrow, in whatever field that you choose to get in, your human experience and your ability to adapt to the changing environment is what is going to set you apart from all the artificial intelligence in the world. The prayer also talks about ultimately what is the aim of the education. We are all here to get education. We are all here to empower ourselves, to empower others around us. But what is the aim? The prayer talks about Punyabhu Indamatechi Kirti. That all our education is ultimately so that the glory of this holy motherland of ours gets magnified. And by that, I don't necessarily mean that you have to be settled in India. Even when you go abroad, even when you become a CEO of some Fortune 500 company, you will still be remembered as an Indian. And that will be a credit to your country. So that is the ultimate aim of the education. How many of you have read Dondo Keshav Karve's autobiography, Maze Atmavritta? It's been translated in English as well. Can you please raise your hands? Okay. If there is one book I would recommend you read, that would be that, Maze Atmavritta, in whatever language you can. Because the conditions under which he operated, the conditions under which he started an institute for women who were very downtrodden back then. I am a mother of a 17-year-old girl and two 17-year-old boys. When I tell them stories about what used to happen with widows or with girls in India till maybe 70, 80, 90 years ago, they cannot believe it. They think I am telling them a story. They cannot connect, they cannot wrap their head around it. I'm sure none of you also can wrap your heads around it. But it was the situation. But in that situation, an ordinary man, he was not somebody who came from a very illustrious lineage. He was just an ordinary villager from a small village in Konkan. But he decided that I cannot endure this anymore, and I am going to try and change in my small way whatever little I can do. And he started the Hingne ashram with probably 2 or 3 women, 2 or 3 widows, whom he brought here and started educating. It was not easy. Every choice he made in the time that he made was very, very, very difficult. Not only did he face the wrath of the society, he had to face the wrath of his own people, even the villagers where he came from. When he married Baya Karve, who was a widow after his first wife died, he wanted to go to the village. His village is a small village somewhere in near Alibag, to visit the Grama Devata, to pay his respects. The villagers didn't allow them. They socially boycotted the couple. So they couldn't get into the village. But both the husband and wife, they went to the village. They stopped outside the village because they respected the wishes of the villagers, and they just prayed to the god from the frontier of the village, and they turned back. They did not fight. They did not say that you have to accept us. They respected the villagers' sentiments also, but they also went and did what they wanted to do, which was to pray to the Grama Devata. They came back. The school, the institute blossomed. People realized the value of Maharshi Karve's work. He became Maharshi. And then the same village which had boycotted them and which had not allowed them even inside the borders of the village, they came to Pune with a delegation. They called him to the village after many years, of course. They carried him and Baya Karve in a procession of Bailgadis. They honored him, and today there is a statue of Maharshi Karve in that village. That is the value of hard work. That is the value of tapasya. That is the value of sadhana. I am not going to give you lectures because I am not a lecturer. I am not even a business leader. But what I have done in my life is to take certain conscious decisions, made certain choices, and I have stayed true to them. And that would be one advice I would like to give all of you as young ladies, no matter what field you get into. Women are always prone to more criticism, and women get judged more, mostly by themselves. Other people, yes, but that's irrelevant. But women tend to judge themselves more. They tend to always question their own decisions and say, did I do the right thing? Did I make a mistake? Why did I do this? Don't do that. Don't give anyone else the power to judge you, but more than that, don't give yourself also the power to judge you. Yes, scrutinize your actions. All of us make mistakes. Take whatever measures that you can to correct those mistakes. But once you have done that, then move on. Then don't keep dwelling on those mistakes, and don't let those mistakes define you. असं म्हणून काहीही होत नाही की त्यावेळेला मी तो निर्णय घेतला असता तर किती बरं झालं असतं. That never helps. Regret is the most useless emotion in life. You have to learn lessons from your mistakes. You have to work on them. Sometimes you cannot undo the mistake. That's okay. Once you get to that realization also, move on. Okay, झाली चूक. Now we move on. And also another thing that I'm going to tell you, even at the risk of sounding unpopular, you are the privileged ones. You are the ones who have the opportunity and the wherewithal to get a good professional education. You have the power to change lives in whatever way you can. You can found companies, you can become the CEOs, you can start something on your own. There are multiple ways in which you can help yourself and you can help others. Don't waste your education and your opportunities in defining pronouns for yourselves on Instagram. That does not create change. Change happens when you actually put in hard work, when you make your own life a little better and you make the life of people around you a little better. Whatever field you enter, whatever task you take up, make sure that you are leaving that task a little better. You're adding a little bit of value in handling whatever you're doing in that past. Thirdly, I would highly advise being rooted. Because being rooted is being free. We think that emancipation is a Western concept. No, it's not. We come from a country where woman is called Shakti. She does not need to be empowered. She is Shakti herself. Recognize that Shakti in yourself and always be aware of that. You can be a Fortune 500 company CEO in a sari, wearing a big bindi, wearing flowers in your hair. You can be an entrepreneur doing all that. You can become a philanthropist like Sudha Murthy. You look at her, she looks so simple, but she has made so much of change in whatever else she is doing. You can become a prime minister in a sari. You can become a lieutenant general like Madhuri Karnitkar wearing a sari and looking traditional. You can be a Tessie Thomas and design a rocket and still wear a sari and look like the ordinary homemaker who is gone to get vegetables in the market. The way you look has got nothing to do with the way you perform. Always remember that. And always be proud of where you come from. Where you're going is determined by that, your awareness and your pride in where you come from. So always stay true to yourself, and the sky is the limit for you. I once met Santosh Yadav. You know who she is, right? She is the woman who climbed Everest without oxygen multiple times. So when I met her, she looked, and if you judge people by appearances, you would say that she did not look quote unquote modern. She was wearing a sari, she had a pallu on her hand, she had full sindoor, she had blouse up till here, and she had bangles. Till somebody told me she is Santosh Yadav, I didn't realize. I met her in Delhi. So then I got intrigued and I started to talk to her, and it was one of the most enlightening conversations of my life. She said that she grew up in a very small village in Haryana. She had 3 or 4 elder brothers, she was the youngest. And in her village, there was only Hindi school up to 10th grade. So her parents, who were government employees, they sent her brothers to a hostel to study in English after 5th grade. But because she was the daughter and she was the youngest, they kept her in the village till her 10th grade. She studied in Hindi. Now she could have said that my parents discriminated against me, my parents sent my brothers to study English because they were boys and they kept me back in the village and they made me study in Hindi. Which is all true. But at the same time, after her 10th standard, when she went to Jaipur, she joined an English school, her parents backed her to the hilt. She stayed in the hostel, she took up a career like mountaineering, which was unheard of for a woman of her background. Her parents backed her even when their own relatives were telling, what is she doing? Why is she wearing clothes like a man and climbing mountains? What career is this? What money is she going to make? Let her become a B.Ed and let her become a teacher somewhere. No, why are you encouraging her in this weird thing called mountaineering? But her parents backed her to the hilt. And she said, because of that, I could devote myself to mountaineering. And that's when her entire life journey became what it is today. So she told me, see, I could have chosen to be a victim and in all my interviews say कि मेरे माता पिता ने मुझ पे कितना अन्याय किया, मेरे भाइयों को इंग्लिश पढ़ने भेजा, मुझे गांव में रखा. I could choose to do that, or I could choose to see that when I needed them the most, they backed me to the hilt. They respected my choices, they supported me. So why should I always play the victim? When my life is going perfectly well and when I've made something of myself, when I'm a role model, should I focus on playing the victim card or should I inspire others? What is the choice? You tell me. Exactly. So be the kind of a person who inspires others and who helps yourself. Another last piece of advice, the person you marry is still going to be the most important career decision of your life. And I say this with full responsibility, not because I'm expecting, not in the term that I expect you to find a well-settled partner or whatever, no. But the partner you choose has got to understand your aspirations, and you've got to understand their aspirations, and you both got to understand that there will be times when one of you will have to take a back seat. That changes with circumstances, and I have lived it, that's why I can tell you. There was a time when my husband used to travel all the time, so I had to be the stay-at-home mom because I was raising triplets. Till they were 10, I didn't do anything. I just stayed at home and took care of them. Then my husband changed his job. He took a job which basically involved him being in Pune a lot more. So when my kids were 10, I started to travel a lot more than he did. And he was the one who was basically taking care of everything at home. So this situation changes. Now again the roles change. After 5 years they'll change again. But you need to have that confidence, that kind of relationship between you and your spouse to be able to do that. And please don't get into this ridiculous thing like today morning I made tea, therefore to be equal you have to make tea in the evening. That is not the definition of equality. Equality is understanding your partner's needs, taking a back seat if at that point his needs are more. Similarly, he also does the same thing for you when you need to make that decision. So that is why I am saying with the full responsibility, the person you marry is the most important career decision of your life. Thirdly, when you choose a career, there will probably come a time in your life when you might want to take a back seat voluntarily. Again, that has to be voluntary, and no one has the right to judge you for that. Do not give that ability to judge you to an outside agency. It is your life, it is your decision. If you want to quit and become a homemaker for 5 years, that is your choice too. If you don't want to do that, you want to have a kid and be working and make all the choices that come with it, that's your choice too. But that's your choice. Be very clear about that. That's all. Finally, because I like the word Shakti, and because you're all going to be future women leaders, and I like acronyms a lot. So how do women support each other? And women support each other because evolutionally we are meant to be a close community of sisters. We are meant to support each other. We are meant to nurture each other. So I have an easy acronym for this. #Shakti. So what is #Shakti? One is, the S stands for share. Whatever skill you have, share it with the people who are less fortunate. H is help. Actively help others also to grow along with your own growth. A is for assert. Very important. There will be times when you will have to hold on your own and assert even at the risk of sounding unpopular. K is to know. There is no alternative to knowledge. You have to constantly update in whatever field you choose to make a career. You have to constantly update your knowledge. T is for travel, which is my favorite, because I honestly feel that by traveling solo, and particularly as women, that's the best way to know yourself, know people of this great country, to know the culture of this great country, to know the diversity that exists. We've all been studying it in school, unity in diversity and all of that, but you don't realize it till you actually see this country. You don't realize it till you actually interact with the people. And finally, I, which is very important for business today particularly, that is innovate. Because if you don't innovate, you get stuck into a rut, and after that, eventually, you will be out of it. So just remember that, easy, no? #Shakti. Thank you so much for giving me this chance to have a conversation with you. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We'll definitely try to imbibe #Shakti in our lives.